the version of the person that you are currently to the version of the person that you were and the version of the person that you are going to become are 3 different people, and you have got to live through them. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself, Lou. I hope you're all okay. Welcome to my Monday. I am very excited to get involved in this episode. It's one that I have thought about doing for quite a while because I know everybody's at different stages of their breakup. I actually got talking to one of my followers the other day and she was like, I went through a breakup like 3 years ago and your content would have helped me so much whilst I was going through my breakup. But she listens because she's like, I love the inspired, like she called it inspired action that you take and your mindset and your positivity. So I just wanted to do an episode this week on that. I wanted to do an episode on being positive, having a positive mindset, how I see myself now, being positive as a single woman, how to be confident as a single woman, how I found my confidence in being a single woman. I think a lot of people don't really talk about the fact that it is hard to stay single as well, as especially if your relationship came to an end and it was quite a long time, because that's what I struggled with the most. And I did a post on my running account the other day about how I went up to a hill. Basically the highest point where I live is about a 10-minute drive away from my house, and I used to go up there and I went up there to watch the sunrise. I think I mentioned it in my last week's episode. I went up there to watch the sunrise, and I used to love watching sunrises and sunsets. When I went through my breakup, that love just went away. And I was up there because I felt claustrophobic in my house. I felt like overwhelmed with all my emotions. I felt so sad. And even like the sun going down didn't bring me any happiness, but it made me realize that I'd got through another day. And sometimes I would wake up so early and I would go and see the sunrise, and then I would go and see the sunset on the same day. And I mean, my sister lived in America at the time, and I posted about going to see the sunrise last week, and she was like, I've just done a hike. And I was like, it's definitely not a hike. It's definitely like, I think it's 9 minutes away from my house, and it took me 3 minutes to get to the top. I don't really live in a picturesque place, but that one place became a safe space. And like I said, it became a space where I knew if I went up there on certain evenings that no one would be up there, and I was able to be upset and be upset in a space where that didn't make me feel claustrophobic. Because when you go through a breakup and you sit in your house, you feel claustrophobic. And I think because I worked in my house as well, I know I've mentioned this before, I felt so claustrophobic, so overwhelmed, like constantly. And so I used to go hike, sit on this hill. The views are amazing. And I used to go and sit there and I just used to sob. And I went up there and I put on my Instagram post that like, it is really hard to find your love back for everything, for your life, for things that you used to enjoy. I want to talk about a lot of things in this episode. There's loads of like stuff going through my mind. I became quite fond of a woman called Amanda Francis around 2017 now. I picked up her book. She's like the money manifesting guru, and that's what she markets herself on, and that's who taught me all about manifesting. And at the time I had a lot of debt and I wanted to manifest as much money as I possibly could, and then obviously that story about that money coming in from my credit card and me being on the wrong interest rates, my debt literally cleared in overnight. It was so weird. Anyway, so that's why I'm a firm believer in manifesting things, because I have got a success story to tell from it. Anyway, she fills me with so much confidence, and I picked up her book again when I was going through my breakup, and it's nothing to do with breakups. It's all about how to become an independent woman. She's a self-made millionaire and she fills me with so much confidence, and she's got a podcast and their episodes are like 10-20 minutes long and they fill me with so much confidence. And I was sat listening to her in the car the other day and I was like, I need to do a feel good episode. I need to do an episode that people are going to pick up and listen to and think, do you know what? I feel confident, and I feel like if I don't feel confident now, I know that I'm going to get there. And I think that's why a lot of people on my TikTok like my content, because I can show what I was at, like the state that I was in when my ex left, to the life that I live now. And I mean, my life at the moment isn't perfect. Like I was saying last week, I'm working 10 times as hard as I have ever worked in my life. As much as I love what I do, there is always that panic, like, you know, am I going to have enough money left over at the end of the month to do what I want? Am I going to have enough money left over to live and stuff? There's like different panics in my life, but the one thing that I don't worry about is finding a relationship. And I think one of the main things that people worry about when they go through a breakup is the fact that they're not going to find love again. So I'm going to talk about not that specifically, but that in a kind of a roundabout way. But I'm going to debrief with you first, because I've got my peppermint tea and I'm going to talk to you about my weekend, because again, I had a really good weekend, and I think it's nice to be able to just sit and debrief with somebody quickly. And I know that a lot of people listen to these episodes when they're out running and walking and stuff, and I like the fact that I get a lot of comments saying that it's like talking to a best friend. So I do love my 10-minute debriefs at the start of these episodes. So I went out on Friday, and I don't know whether I declared that I was going to stay sober last weekend, but that did not happen. I have no willpower when the sun comes out, and like, I love it when the sun comes out. I mowed my lawn this weekend. That's how nice the weather was in the UK. And of course now it's gone back to being grey. We're back with the grey March. In March we're grey. Anyway, and my friend texted me on Friday, like, I'm working this evening at his bar, so like, will you come up? And I was like, yeah, definitely. One of our friends was playing. He's a really good singer, so we were going up there, and I was like, I am not drinking. I'm having a weekend sober. Got 16 miles to run on Sunday, and I went into the weekend really positive about, you know, my marathon training and staying sober. And then I was like at home, got to like 4 o'clock on Friday. I went and see my mum and dad, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to drink this weekend because, you know, and because, you know, and I've been out with my friends, went out with all the rugby boys, drank quite a lot, so I'm not going to drink this weekend. And my dad was like, why? And my mum was like, just go out and have a good time. Like, you're 6 weeks out from running a marathon. Like, if you're going to give up alcohol at any time, it would be probably like 4 weeks before your marathon. And I thought, you know what? Actually, no, I'm going to do that. So the 4 weeks up towards my marathon, I'm not going to drink. So I have this weekend left to drink, basically. So I went out on Friday, went up to my best friend's bar, where I will glass collect for wine. I'll pour pints for wine. So went up there, and my glass was on the side, and it was not empty all night. It was just full of Pinot Grigio all night. Everybody was on a level. Everyone was in very high spirits. Everyone was dancing. We had karaoke. We were singing. And everyone got quite drunk. So I got up in the morning, had a shower, and then went to the football with my dad and my brother and my brother-in-law. We all went off to watch QPR play, and they were playing West Brom. Yet to see QPR win away, which that's my 4th football match now, and QPR haven't won away yet. So my dad, bless him, he was a bit disappointed, and he was like, we need to go to the Loft, the game at home, and hopefully, like, you know, that we'll win. But I was watching the football players at the weekend, and I was like, there is something really attractive about them, isn't there? It's funny because, like, you know, footballers have got a bad rep for women. And I was watching them, and it is definitely a skill. I'm very much more attracted to footballers than I am rugby players. I didn't find anything about watching rugby players play rugby attractive. The crashing and the clanging of muscles, it wasn't for me. However, footballers, there were some pretty good looking guys on the pitch on Saturday. And so I was keeping my sunglasses on and just having a jolly old time, you know. I had a really nice day on Sunday, and I just had an in day. I had a day where I locked myself in my house. My social battery was at 0. I had a busy week. I had a full-on Friday, a full-on day out, all day Saturday, driving as well. And I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to lock myself in my house and just have a me day. So that's what I did. I had a me day, and I've woken up this morning and I feel very refreshed. So that takes me to Monday. And today is Monday and I'm having a very productive day. I am actually away this week. So I've got some plans, some really nice plans actually this week. And I think it's quite difficult when you do work for yourself to give yourself some time off. And you have to kind of look at your weeks like by being like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And what I mean by that is like Saturday and Sunday aren't weekends. And you take your weekends where you can take your weekends. So this week I'm taking my weekends midweek and I'll probably work this weekend just to make up the time. And this is what I was talking to my dad about the other day. I was like, I'm struggling with the fact that, you know, people say like, oh, you should come and do that on Thursday. And I'm thinking, oh, I can't do that on Thursday because that's a day wasted in the week. But then I can do that on Saturday and Sunday because I've done a lot of stuff in the week. I worked quite a lot on Sunday evening last night, just preloading some videos, just easy admin for my YouTube, and it's just made my life so much easier this morning. I've got less to do, even though Mondays are typically my late nights and I will be up working late. It just makes them a lot easier. And ultimately, like I said, and you know, I'm being transparent, and I will start talking about this a lot more, I think, because a lot more people are asking me the questions that like I might have to get a part-time job because there are things that I still want to do. I want to buy some property, I want to upgrade my car, and when you go self-employed, people are not going to lend you money if you are not salaried. I've been self-employed then less than a year. People aren't going to be like, oh, do you know what? She's, you know, making enough money to make these loan repayments. That's not how it works. So I have been looking at part-time jobs, and that's the reason why I've been working so hard to be able to get what I want to do out there and consolidate it into 2 days. But anyway, that was my little catch up done. And so we're going to move on to today's episode, which, like I said, I'm going to talk everything about just making you feel more confident stepping into your future self and as a single woman or a single man. Hopefully this relates to men as well. I'm going to try and make it relate to men and women, because I do know that I have some male listeners, but the male listeners tend to not reach out. But I can see it on my analytics that I do have a male following on my Spotify. I can't see it on my Apple, but I can definitely see it on my Spotify. And so I do try and make sure I don't make this too girly, but a majority of my listeners are female. So I do want you to come away from this episode and think, do you know what? I might not be ready to put everything in place what Lou's been talking about, but it has made me feel more confident, and it has made me realise that when I am ready to step into that version of myself, I can go back to the episode. And that's what I want these episodes to be about. I want you to be able to pick up my podcast, scroll down, find a subject that you're really struggling with and want to know more on, and listen to it. And I know a lot of people work methodically up my podcast, so they're like, I'm on episode 5, I'm on episode 6, but like I think, you know, oh my god, I've just remembered, this is my 100th episode. What a great way to celebrate my 100th episode, with a big fat positive episode about how to step into being your future confident self. Oh my god, this has worked out great. That just came to me in my head now that it's my 100th episode, because I was thinking, someone messaged me the other day and said, oh, I'm on your 75th episode and I've still got so and so to go. And I was thinking, I wonder if they listen to it every day or like twice a day just to get through them all, because there's a fair few episodes on there. And then if you come over to my Patreon, there's like more episodes over there. So if that is something that you want to get involved with, like I always say on every episode, please just follow the link in my bio. I'm over there uploading 2 extra episodes on Wednesdays, and with that you get complete access to me as a person. I constantly check my Patreon DMs. My TikTok and my Instagrams do get checked. I do try and keep up with them, but I do get a lot of DMs on there asking for like full-blown advice, and there is only me doing this, and I am trying to put out as much information online for free as I possibly can, so it's accessible to everybody. But it's just not a good use of my time to sit and reply to every single DM that I get, like, how do I get over my breakup? That question is so broad. And I think I've proven that by being able to talk here every week for 100 weeks. and create 60-minute long episodes. That question isn't something that I'm going to be able to condense down into a DM reply. But I make time for my Patreon listeners first because they are paying a subscription fee. This week's the week that I'm going to be uploading new tiers on there, but I have my OGs over there. They pay £4.50 a month. Well, they don't, they pay $4.50 a month, which is £4.18 just for the month, and they get 8 additional episodes. I like to direct people over there because it makes use of my time the most. You get the best replies from me and you're being looked after basically, because like I said, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is check my Patreon to make sure that I haven't got any messages, to make sure people haven't messaged me during the evening and during the night, because I've got people from all over there. It's very rare that I see a £4.18 thing come through. To be fair, they are $4.50. I've got a lot of American listeners over there, some girls from Australia. It's a nice place to be. It's a community that I'm trying to build. So if you do fancy it, like I always say on every single episode, the link for my Patreon is in my bio of everything. But like I said, I'm going to be adding new tiers over there and advertising those this week. I didn't go live on Thursday either because I just feel like I should have advertised it better. But now you know, having listened hopefully to last week's episode, you know that I go live on a Thursday evening now. Without further ado, guys, let's get into my 100th episode. I feel like I should be having like champagne or something. No, let's all have champagne. Well, when this gets released, let's all have champagne together on Friday. I'll be raising a glass on Friday to my 100th episode. And so if you are listening to this and you're not doing any physical exercise, hopefully you'd want to raise a glass of something with me. And thank you for being here for 100 episodes as well. That is mad. That is like, there's 52 weeks in a year. So what's that? Just under 2 years worth of podcasting, which is crazy. But second time lucky, without further ado, let's get into the 100th episode, guys. So this episode is going to feature some manifesting tips. It's going to feature a little bit of universe sort of talk. And I know that, you know, people roll their eyes. And whenever I mention the universe to my eldest sister, she rolls her eyes because she's like, yeah, whatever. But it is going to feature some of that sort of talk. So hopefully you can broaden your minds if you don't believe in that sort of stuff. You might believe that, you know, the universe, when I'm talking about the universe, you think of it as being God or whatever you believe in. Hopefully this is going to not change your mind so you absolutely 100% believe in manifesting, but I do think that manifesting played a huge part in how I trained my mindset, how I got into a positive mindset. And I talk about, you know, going through a really rough time in my career in 2017. I went through a huge career change, and with that came a huge block in my career, and I was signed off sick 3 weeks into starting a new job. It was wild. I absolutely hated it, and I thought there's got to be more to life than this. And I picked up a book about manifesting. It was called The Secret, and it completely changed my life. It completely changed the way that I thought about things. It made me believe that there was a future version of myself that, you know, that I was working hard for. It made me dream even bigger. It made me believe that everything was possible. And when I went through my breakup, I sort of went back into myself thinking that this was the only thing for me. This was how life was going to look. And I remember thinking, no, you've been here before. Maybe not in this capacity. Maybe not, you know, I've never felt pain like it in my life, but felt like I had been blocked and stopped, and that, you know, I was never going to find a better job. And it was like, with my breakup, it was like, I'm never going to find somebody like my ex. And so I just wanted to start off with talking about time, because I think the first thing that you tend to do when you go through a breakup is compare yourself to what your ex is doing, which is completely normal. And I am always so shocked at the DMs, male and female, that come through and say that they have either moved on into a new relationship, their ex has moved somebody new into the house already, they had somebody going on, there was an affair going on. I am honestly shocked. And you would think that because I read all these DMs that I would be one of those people who had lost faith in humanity, because I must get about, in the remits of about 20 to 50 DMs a day Or even comments. There was one time when one of my videos went viral, and it's me standing in the kitchen. If you follow me on TikTok, it's actually pinned at the top of my TikTok. And I put, I might be single, but at least I'm not stood in front of somebody explaining to them how I feel, and their answer being, I don't really know what you want me to say. The comment section on that video just made me think like, oh my God, it's not just me. I'm not alone in this. So many people agreed with me, and I just thought, oh my God, sometimes, I always say I wish I could sit somebody in front of my screens, and I wish I could scroll through the DMs and show the person sitting there thinking they were the only person that's going through it, how many people that this is happening to. But I don't know whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, because like I said, I should probably be sat here thinking, oh my God, I have got well over 200,000 TikTok followers, over 5,000 across my podcast, over 16,000 on my Instagram. Is there anybody out there that doesn't feel the need to, walk out on their relationship, cheat on people, get into a new relationship dead quick, not handle their emotions? I should probably be quite worried doing what I do, but I'm just not. But when you first go through your breakup, the urgency to keep up with what your ex is doing, or and I mean that in a capacity of the fact that, like, if they've got into a new relationship. In my last episode, I explained, my therapist saying, when I questioned my therapist saying, like, how does my ex moved on so quickly? I don't understand how he's been able to trust somebody, how he's been able to confide in somebody. I'm absolutely terrified about that, because I had all of that taken away from me. And she was like, you've just answered your own question. He did that to you. You didn't do that to him. A lot of my videos on TikTok where I say, you haven't given your ex-partner trust issues. You haven't. They've given you them. So of course, they're probably going to find it a lot easier to move on because they've not got the trust issues. But it's very interesting because I sit and I read my DMs and I take everything in, and I take in all the stories. And a lot of people are saying, I just want to move on. And the time element comes into it quite a lot, especially with people that are like over 30. And, I preach about this all the time, that over 30 is not old. In fact, over 40 isn't even classed as being old. I saw one of my friends the other day and he was like, I don't even class my parents who are over 50 years old, still got 50 years of living in them. And yes, I know, you can do less because you're getting older. However, it's irrelevant. Like, 30 is not old. But I think there is a lot of urgency on age and on time, and time's running out. And the saddest thing is, I think people do stay in relationships that they're not happy in because they fear that time is running out. They don't think that they could have met somebody in a year, got married, engaged, had children, and stayed with them for the rest of their lives. Like, they don't think of it like that. They just think, oh my God, I can't get out of this relationship because I'm never going to find somebody else. And what I wanted to teach you here is that you scrambling around on those dating apps, because I have done this. I'm very honest about it on my Patreon, on my Single Girl series. I talk about getting on dating apps and frantically looking for somebody, like, no, scrolling, like trying to find somebody that looks a little bit like my type, a little bit of what I thought my type was. And it's just not the case. So when you find yourself sitting there thinking, I'm running out of time, take time. Take time to sit there and know that those thoughts are, quite frankly, ridiculous, because there are millions of people in the world. And like, I know that people say, yeah, but they're not going to live down the road. They're not going to live near me. I can't date within my town. I can't date within my town. My town is very small. I don't want to date within my town. And that's something that, you're going to have to broaden your mind on that. You might have to find somebody that is long distance. You might have to find somebody that's an hour away from you. But that isn't a bad thing. That's you closing down your mind, making your dating pool so much more smaller, because you're thinking, oh my God, we can't live an hour away because we can't see each other in the week. We can't do this. We can't do that. And you're already blocking so much opportunity to be able to find somebody. You might meet somebody randomly and they might go, hey, do you want to come and live in this country with me? Because, you know, you can, because this is where I live, and you can come and live over there with me too. And you don't have to worry about, you know, getting a job or anything. You literally don't know what is going to happen in your future. But I see people scrambling around, getting on dating apps and getting into relationships because they are so hell-bent on the fact that they're running out of time. On whose watch? Even if you are listening to this and you are 50, 60 plus, you are not running out of time. You can fall in love with somebody so quickly if you want to, once you have done your healing. If you took a year and a half out just to focus on yourself, that's a year and a half. So you turn 60, you take a year and a half out, you turn 62 and you fall in love with somebody, and then that is 2 years of your life that you have learned so much about yourself, you know exactly what you want, and you've met the love of your life. I don't understand where this urgency of time has come from. And I have to say to people all the time, slow down. When you get on these dating apps, or when you are, you're out in clubs or wherever you are, bars, pubs, looking around, frantically looking like, oh my God, is there any single guys here? Any single guys here? Asking your mates, is there anybody single that you know? Is there anybody single you can set me up with? It's slow down. The fact that you're rushing should make you slow down. So when you are sat there and you are thinking, I am running out of time, take time. Just say to yourself, hold on a second, you're getting ahead of yourself. You don't need to be this frantic. I get called the hectic one and manic because I'm 24/7 on the ball all the time. I'm the complete opposite. I worry that I have made a life where I haven't got time, but that is what I'm stepping into at the moment. That is the version of myself that I am stepping into. And this is what I want to go on to and talk about next, is the version of the person that you are currently to the version of the person that you were, and the version of the person that you are going to become are 3 different people, and you have got to live through them. And at the minute, for me, I know that I'm a version of myself where I have not got time for a partner because I barely have time to invest in myself. And this is important because the past version of yourself is going to make you realize that you are going to either make some huge changes in your life, which I have done, or just that past version of yourself does exist. You can be a girlfriend, you can be a boyfriend, you can be a husband, you can be a wife, you can be a mother, you can be a father. You can do all those things because that past version of you exists. You are not burying that past version of yourself. You know you can be it, but for the time being, you need to be this person that you are literally living as now in order to get to that future person. And that future person will dip into that past version and will say, oh, when I was a girlfriend, or when I used to do that in a relationship, or I used to really like going there. You will pull things from this person, and that will make this person in your future, more experienced, more, when I say to people I've done the relationship thing, I think if I was to meet somebody and they said I've been in a 13-year relationship or 14-year relationship, I would find that quite attractive because they've been able to learn what goes into making a relationship work. And people would probably find that off-putting, but for me it's quite important because I know how much compromise went into my relationship. I know how much you have to trust somebody. I know how much you have to take on board their life, their hobbies, their careers, their jobs. Come from a family where my mum literally moved around where my dad and his work took them. And, that comes with a lot of compromise in relationships. So when people turn their nose up and go oh, yeah, but, he couldn't make that relationship work. He's come out of a long-term relationship. I challenge them and I think, oh, hold on a second. No, but he does know what goes into a relationship. And so with the person that you are now and the person that you are living to be at the moment is basically sculpting that future version of yourself that you know you're going to step into. And like I said, the person that I am now isn't the person that I'm going to be forever. I know that I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to be able to free up more time. Hopefully, you know, what I'm building and the business that I'm building and everything going on in the background, I'm going to be able to outsource and say, you know, someone else can do that for me, someone else can do that for me, and free up more time for myself. But at the minute, I don't mind cramming everything into my working week, everything into my days, saying no to people, saying to people I haven't got time to date, I haven't got time to get to know somebody, because I don't want it. And there is a difference. And it's not because I don't want it because I don't want it because I don't like men and I'm a man hater and I don't trust anyone and, you know, it's going to take me a long time to get into a relationship and trust someone again. That's not why I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship because I don't want to be in a relationship. And, you know, I talk about it on my Patreon. Stop apologising for being single. Stop saying, you know, oh yeah, I'm single, but I know I'll meet somebody one day. I don't even follow up with that anymore, because that future version of myself is there and I know she is. And I can see her, and I said this a few weeks ago, I can see her being a wife. I can see her being a mother. I know she's found somebody. I know that she becomes that house-proud woman again, but she becomes a house-proud woman with her own business. She becomes a house-proud woman who worked for 5 years solidly on her life in order for her next 70 years of her life to be easy. That's the future version of me that I envision. But I think one of the most important things you have to do is that you have to know that you believe it. Because if you don't believe that you're going to get to that future person, if you don't believe that everything that you are living now is going to be necessary, that is going to be your first block. And you are going to block everything in its way, because you're going to be hit with, I don't deserve somebody. I'm never going to find anyone. The dating pool is really small. No one trusts anyone. I can't find anyone decent. I've been on dating apps, blah, 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 blah. And that's why I started with time, because you're clearly rushing it, because there are billions of people on this planet and you're telling me you can't find one. No, you can't find one because you're rushing. And the reason why you're rushing is because you've come out of this relationship, you've got all this love to give, you don't know how to channel it into yourself, so you're like pushing it out. And actually what you should be doing is pulling it in, and then knowing that when you are ready, that person will exist for you. You will be able to express your love for somebody else. You will have the time, and and like I said, that block then goes, because you know that person's there. You are worthy of love, and you have to train your subconscious to stop the negative thoughts coming in of, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to find somebody, it's too hard, I'm too hard to trust, I'm too hard to love, I can't trust anybody anymore. And you know, I have been through therapy, very open with the fact that I've been through therapy. My therapist loves talking about the universe, so I get her constantly talking to me about limiting beliefs, and that's what these are called. These blocks that you are putting in the way of yourself are called limiting beliefs. You don't believe it. So how are you going to get there? If you sit and you think, I'm never going to find somebody like my ex, the person that has brought so much hurt into your life, you're never going to find somebody like him. It makes no sense, because I sit and I look at my friends' relationships and their partners haven't brought like pain into their lives. And I look at my parents, and my dad didn't bring it into my mum's life and my mum didn't bring it into my dad's. There are people out there that aren't going to treat you like your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. So why are you sat there limiting yourself to these beliefs that you're never going to find somebody like your ex? I did it so much. This was a thought I thought all the time, especially with the fact that he was my first everything, first house, first love, first everything. I was like, oh my God, I am not going to be able to find somebody. All these things were just like constant limiting beliefs. Nobody was telling me them. I was telling them to myself. And so I was limiting that person that I was going to become in the future, that version of myself that I have now got such a clear image on. I know exactly what she looks like. I know exactly what clothes she wears. I know exactly where she goes on her holidays. I know exactly how she talks to people. I know exactly what type of person she is when she's in a relationship. I know exactly what person she is out of a relationship. I know what dog she's going to get. I know what her next car's going to look like. I know what kitchen she's going to have. I know that so clearly because I have got rid of all these limiting beliefs about myself and my future. And I talk about journaling and I talk about getting things down into a journal. This is where manifesting comes into this episode, because I think when you manifest, you don't actually really get to grips with what you want until you see it down on paper. And you don't have to think of it as manifesting if that's not how your mind works. You can see it as a clear description of the person that you're going to be. You know, when you look at something online and, you know, you're looking for a new pair of trainers, for example, and you're looking for it to be, you know, good for a neutral shoe, good ankle support. It's pink because I'm a girl and I really like pink. And you're ticking off all these boxes because you're like, yep, they're that. I remember reading in a book that manifesting is like having a catalogue of your dreams, and the universe has said to you, you can have anything you want. Here you go. Pick what you want. And if you're new to manifesting, you might be like, this is crazy. She's crazy. What I mean is you get to choose to be anybody you want to be. And, you know, people will argue, I've got children, I've got that. What type of a mother do you want to be? What type of a father do you want to be? When you write it down in front of you, you see what you want. And so that gives you the encouragement of going after it. And for me, obviously, I've not got children, but I see myself now, and I don't really do this a lot. It's coming to me more and more about the future sort of wife and partner that I want to be. I don't really spend a lot of time on it. And I know that that's going to come in 2026, probably more so. And the fact my best friend's booked her 2027 wedding. And she said to me the other day, her and her fiance, we've got you a +1. No pressure. So I think that is going to come. I am going to start, you know, writing down how I see myself as a wife and I see myself as a future partner. But I have got completely clear and specific on the type of woman that I want to be, the type of single woman that I am. I have a huge list and I am ticking them off one by one. And the things that I am achieving, I'm being able to tick them off one by one. There is so much on that list. And from that list, I'm able to say, oh, do you know what? That's on my list. I've got to work towards this. Do you want to be a woman who gets on an aeroplane on her own? Do you want to be a woman who goes and sits in a coffee shop on a Friday and goes and celebrates their 100th episode with a glass of champagne? Because that's what I'm doing on Friday. Do you want to be the woman that goes, do you want to go and be the woman who goes and plays a new sport, goes and takes up tennis, goes and takes up cricket, goes and takes up badminton? You know, what sort of person do you want to be? Write it down. Because your mind will be limiting you. The way to get things out of here is onto paper. It's the most powerful thing that you can do. Hence the reason why I bang on about it all the time. Get it down on paper. When you can see it, you will start feeling it. And that is the next thing that I want to talk about. You have to feel into those emotions. Not all the time. It's exhausting going through a breakup. It's exhausting thinking that you're going to have to start your life from scratch. It's exhausting thinking, oh my God, what type of woman do I want to be? Because I only know the woman that I was in the relationship and I'm not that person anymore. It's soul destroying. And I talked about, I think it was last week or the week before, where I said, I know for a fact that if I had got into a relationship, I'd have just jumped straight back into being a girlfriend. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a better person because I wasn't a perfect girlfriend. There were things that I wanted to work on. There were things that I wanted to grow through. And, you know, I openly admit that I was not a very confident person. I wasn't very sort of an outward person, and I wouldn't go and want to try new things. And now I annoy myself because I've got a big fat long list of things that I just want to try, and new hobbies that are so expensive that I can't afford, but I'm dying to try. I stress myself out. But again, that was on the list. It was at the top. I wanted to be more confident on my own. I wanted to be a confident woman. I wanted to be a woman that walked into a room and that people didn't go, God, she's confident. I wanted people to be like, she's confident and approachable. It feels like she's an approachable person. I wanted to be that person that had a warm presence when they walked into the room, because I was never that woman who was that, because my ex had such a big, bold personality. I liked being his girlfriend. I liked being the quieter one out of us. I liked him being able to fill the room and me being able to say, oh yeah, like we've just come back from here. He did this, he did that. You know, he's got experience of that. I loved being that person. But then when I came out of the relationship without him, I was just the quiet one, and I didn't want to go into a room of people because I didn't have the stories to tell, because I was just a girlfriend. And now I've been able to sort of add to my experience in life without a shadow of a doubt. The minute you tell someone that you've run a marathon, they want to dissect it from the start to finish. I've been on holiday on my own. I've experienced new countries by myself, and all of these things were on my list, and I've been able to go down and tick them all off. And that's what manifesting is all about. It doesn't have to be you waking up every morning, doing your affirmations, doing your gratitudes. When you get into a habit of doing it, of course, do it every day. I do it every day, but I'm constantly listening to podcasts about it. I'm constantly reading books about it. It's something that I want to do, but you don't have to do it every single day for it to work. What's the most important thing is that you have this big long list of things. It doesn't even have to be long, but you have this list of things that you want to be, achieve, bring into your life, and you feel the feelings when you're reading them. So if you are reading, I want to be able to trust somebody again, I want to be a trusting partner, think about how you felt when you were a trusting partner. Think about it for a couple of minutes and then let it go. And then when you come back to the list, you're like, oh, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that again. You don't have to do it every day. I mean, I do it every day. I get in my car and I imagine that I'm driving my dream car. I pretend that I'm in the airport sometimes to go over to my holiday home. Honestly, you do live in land deleu when you are manifesting, but it does work. It changes your mindset. It makes you feel positive. There is no point in having this opinion of yourself that isn't going to achieve anything off the back of your breakup. Your breakup isn't going to limit you to becoming the person that you want to be. It's so important to get this list of things down. And if you don't feel like doing it now, start off small. Who do you want to be by the end of the week? Like, what do you want to achieve by the end of the week? Do you want to be the person that wakes up at 7 o'clock? Do you want to be the person that goes to bed at 10 o'clock? You know, do you want to be the person that reads 5 pages of a book in the evening? Do you want to get into the new Netflix thing that everyone's talking about at work? I find that really difficult when people say, have you watched this film? There is a TikTok that I sent to my best friend because we're the complete opposite. Him and his brother are just like film mad. They can reel off actors, reel off films, Oscars, things. I'm so awful. This girl sits down at the table and she's like, don't you just hate when people are like, hey, have you seen the new Batman? And it's like, no, I've not seen the new Batman film. I don't watch films. You might go into work and think, I don't watch anything on Netflix. You might want to become that person that can get involved in the conversation and be like, no, do you know what? Yeah, I have. Take them by surprise. I have watched that new thing on Netflix. I have done that. And I think it does become a distraction for you. It becomes a distraction technique, definitely. Whilst you're doing everything else, whilst you're doing all the healing, whilst you're doing all the self-love, you get to think about the future version of yourself that you are going to become. Who is stopping you? Who is stopping you? And I get quite a lot of people say you don't know what it's like to have children. I completely get that. I don't know what it's like to have children, but I know you can absolutely write this list as well and include your children. And the thing for me is as well, it stops you from thinking negatively, because sometimes when I'm doing stuff, I'm like, this is not how my future person will act. This is not what is on my list. So why am I reacting like that? I've caught myself a few times in the last couple of weeks doing it, to be fair. And I've thought, this is not how my future self acts in these situations. This is not how the confident businesswoman would act in this situation. The confident businesswoman would say, this is not contributing to my success, my confidence, or my story doesn't have a place in my life. And I found myself getting caught up in things, and I'm like, reset, go back to the journal entry where I have listed the big fat long list of who I'm going to be in the future. I'm still in limbo. I'm still here. I'm not the woman that I want to be yet, because I've got so much work to do, because she's just sat there and she's just being added to every now and again, where I make the decisions where I'm like, hold on a second, this is not contributing to my future self. She grows a little bit more, because I'm not doing things that are limiting me from my future. And the final thing that I want to talk about, because you do have to be realistic. This is all great. The catalogue is great. You know, you are opened a catalogue by the universe, and the catalogue has said, who do you want to be as a single woman? Who do you want to be as a single man? What are you going to do to contribute to your future self? What's going to be, you know, the thing that you get involved with, the feelings that you feel, the inspired action that you take, the limiting belief that you stop thinking? What does that look like? That's all great. You do have to be a little bit realistic, and I will get a little bit realistic, because you do have to take aligned action. Not loads, because then it takes the niceness and the joy away from what you're doing. But for example, it's all well and good me saying that I want to be a businesswoman when I'm not starting a business. I want to be a businesswoman. I am not saying I want to be a businesswoman having not started a business. I mean, I lost my job. I didn't quit my job to be a businesswoman. However, I have registered a business online. I'm taking the aligned action. I'm taking the inspired action to tick things off my list. I want to be a businesswoman, so I've registered a business. And if you want a new job, you know, if you see yourself as climbing a career ladder, it's all well and good saying like, I want to be, you know, at this point in my career. Are you taking the steps? Do you need to apply for a new job? Have you updated your CV? You sometimes do have to take the aligned action. It's all well and good saying, you know, you want to be the healthiest, fittest person, eat healthy all the time, and, you know, be that person that is able to say no to the donut, able to say no to the glass of wine if you don't want it. Are you taking the aligned, inspired action in order to become that person? And it doesn't have to be big things. You should hear me talk about my car. I saw 2 of the cars that I want to upgrade to at the weekend, and I said to my dad, when I get that car, that is not the colour that I would go for. And I could see my brother looking at me as if to say, you're insane. That car's over 100 grand. It wasn't one day. It wasn't, that's my dream car. It wasn't, I wish I could get that car if I had that car. When I get that car, it wouldn't be in that colour. Little things. It's like, when I find my husband, when I have children, when I live in that house, not, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be able to get there. I'm never going to be able to do that. And at the minute in the UK, things are rough. Money is rough. The amount things cost is astronomical. I know that you have to be practical in this. You can't just be thinking, oh, this is the house that I want to live in, so I'm just going to sell mine. Because if you are living in a house at the moment, then you are one of the lucky ones, because I don't know how anyone is buying a property at the moment with the interest rates, with the salaries, and with people renting. I understand that it isn't easy to just do something. It wasn't easy for me to just buy this house. It wasn't easy for me to not be employed. Like, these are not easy decisions. I'm not saying that I'm not homing into the fact that there is so much stuff going on in the UK with money and the cost of living, being able to afford things. It's ludicrous. I've just had my council tax statement come through, and I am actually shocked at the amount of council tax that I have to pay as a single person where I live. you do have to be realistic. But when you are going through a breakup, there is so much negativity coming into your life, so many negative thoughts. There's so much doubt on yourself that this list can be your piece of hope. It can be something that inspires you to keep going every day. It can be that thing that it's like, God, I've just had this, bad news, someone's told me about my ex, or, I can't sell the house at the moment, or whatever it is. You can go back to your list and know that for me, in 2-3 years' time, that person is going to be closer than ever. She is closer. This version of myself that I'm going to become in the future is closer than ever. I can almost touch her, almost. She was so far away 2.5 years ago. I knew she was there when I started writing down the person that I wanted to be. I knew that there was a possibility that I was going to get there. She was so friggin' far away that it was almost like hard to even think about being that person and becoming her. But now, obviously, as I'm healing and time's going on, it's a lot easier to envision myself as that person. And it's the same as relationships. If you are in a place where you do want to start thinking about your relationships, because I do think there is a lot to say about if you are going to look for somebody in your life, if you're not making space for them, how do you expect to meet them? And my friend did a lot of this when she was going through IVF, and she has fortunately now got her baby. I remember her saying to us, she's making space in her house for her baby clothes. Because if she's thinking about having a baby and wants to welcome a baby into her life, how is she saying or giving signs to the universe that she's ready to be a mother if she hasn't got space to even house a baby? But she was making little spaces in her wardrobe and hanging up little tiny weeny boots and little tiny weeny vests. And it was making her feel positive about an awful ordeal that she was having to go through when she was going through her IVF. And when you're going through a breakup, this little book and this journal that you have of the version of the person that you want to become is going to be your little book of hope, and knowing that the healing's going to be worth it. It's going to 100% be worth it. I'm a product of it. I'm a product of healing. I am sat here saying you need to heal because I'm a product of positive healing, and now I'm an arm's length away from this future version of myself, and she's going, no, you've still got a little bit of work to do. And I'm going back to this list thinking, no, I've still got things to tick off. I've still got things to tick off to know that that future version of myself is going to be solid. It's completely solid, untouchable. And just to finish with, don't obsess over it. If you are into manifesting or you know about manifesting, you know that you think about it and then let it go. Trust that it's coming. Trust that you know what you need to be doing. You want to take up a new hobby? If you are just sitting there thinking, I'm going to take up tennis, and you're not doing anything about it, it's probably not going to happen. If you join a tennis club, let the rest go. How well you're going to be as a tennis player, how much it's going to cost you, how you're going to upkeep with it, let all of that go. Just let it go. You're going to become a tennis player. Let it go. The most important thing to do when you are manifesting things or manifesting a version of yourself is to trust that it is on its way. Trust that it's on its way. I was having this conversation with my mum last year when I was applying for jobs. And I mean, if you are applying for jobs at the moment, you will know that the current job market is absolutely atrocious. And I said to my mum, I am trusting the universe, because if I wasn't, I would be going into a hole of myself thinking, why on earth did I do a law degree? Why does my CV say business manager if I can't even get a look in to people looking at my CV? And I was saying to mum, I'm going to have to rethink how I'm looking at getting a job and think of it as the universe is trying to tell me something here. The reason why I'm not getting a job is because I've got other things that I need to be doing at the same time. And that's when I started getting my head down with this. That's when I started going onto YouTube, researching about how to do video podcasts. All this time that I have had and that I have been given since losing my job has all been for a reason. And you might think I'm crazy by saying that. And that is fine, because I'm pretty sure my dad thinks I've lost the plot. But this is how you need to process that you are going through at the moment. You need to make sure that you aren't thinking there is no one out there for me. Flip it. There is somebody out there for me. But this is the universe saying, hold your horses. Take some time. You don't need to be on this dating app. Delete them. Just have some time for yourself. Who is putting pressure on you? You are. You're putting pressure on you. No one else is. So trusting it's already on its way will give you the momentum to take inspired action, to take those little, oh, I just need to do that. Oh, I just need to do that because my future self would do that. My future self would do that. Change how you're talking when I get into a relationship, when I meet somebody who I trust. Not, I'm never going to meet somebody. When I meet somebody that I trust, when I move into that house that I'm going to get. Change your narrative. And open yourself up to receiving and detach yourself from how it's going to happen, but just know that it is. Like I said, that book is going to be your little saving grace, because it's going to be your little reminders on the days where you think this is so awful and I don't want to feel like this anymore. And then you're going to see that book and you're going to think, but it is all going to be worth it when I know that I am that version in that book. I hope that this has helped. I know talking about the universe, like I always say, is living in Landaloo. My sister just can't get on board, and I'm so glad sometimes that she can't, because I get to reference her in these episodes, because I know that there are people out there that will listen to this and think, I do not believe a word you are saying, and with everything that is going on in the world at the moment, this cannot be true. But I think that it's important to think of it as you are allowed to have this little bit of positivity. And the way that you do it is to build that future version of yourself that you are going to be very proud of, and that you are going to be able to sit there one day and go, holy shit, I'm her. And then you'll come back to this episode and you'll go, I need to message Lou and say, it actually worked. Honestly, trust the process, because like I said, if you haven't heard the story about my credit card being paid off after I sat and every single bill that came into my house, every single credit card bill that came into my house, I scribbled out the amount and I put £0, 0 pence every single month, every single goddamn month. I did that for about 6 months, and then all of a sudden at Christmas, I had no credit card debt because I'd been put on the wrong interest rates. I didn't write in my journal, I'm going to clear my debt because of my interest rates. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I was just writing, I'm going to clear my debt. I'm going to be debt free by the end of this year. I didn't know how. I was on 13.5 grand a year. I came out of university with well over 10 grand's worth of debt on credit cards. I've got credit cards now, but I wasn't writing, I'm going to clear my credit cards because Barclaycard are going to realise they put me on the wrong interest rates. When I read that letter, I'll never forget it. My sister's face, she was so shocked. And she was like, mate, you've done it. And I was like, I don't know how that's happened. It was wild. If you want to hear the story, I think I'll talk about it on my Patreon. I might talk about it on an episode. I don't know. I've done 100 episodes now, so I don't know which one to refer you back to. But if you want me to talk more on manifesting, let me know. I know it's not everyone's bag, but it is something that I really, really enjoy talking on. I would love to make it more of a, a sort of a feature on this. And I do want to talk more on going through being a single woman and going into my single life, and how I am keeping motivated, and how I'm not getting distracted with talking about getting into a relationship and stuff like that. I do really enjoy it, but I just want to make sure that it is for everybody as well. So let me know what you think about this episode in the comments. Like I said, guys, if you do want more episodes, 2 episodes get released on Wednesdays over on my Patreon. It's $4.50 a month. It's less than the price of coffee, and you can subject yourself to listening to my voice just a little bit longer each week. If not, guys, I will see you back here on Friday for an hour-long episode. Please raise a glass for us this evening to getting to the 100th episode of Coming Up for Air. Look after yourself, guys. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.